Now, how do we actually fill this gap, this execution gap? So I'm going to present a model here, very simple, and it's answering the question, how to lead your team for masterful execution. It is about leadership, and it's about our eye on delivering the results. So I call this the execution triangle. The execution triangle. So we're going to talk about 3 simple pillars, and then there's something that holds all of them together. So to execute and be in the top 20%, we touched on vision. I must have a vision for the project, or a vision for the workflow, or a vision for the goals we set. So I've used the word vision here, and there's different layers of it. Of course, having an overall vision for the organization, which could include your mission, your vision, your outcomes, your strategic outcomes, the difference you're out to make in the world, or just simply the business model that you're in, that you're building, that money machine, whatever that is, to serve a certain problem in the market. But there's a vision you have that's going to impact something that people want to buy, give you money for, and that you can build a team around to deliver. The stronger that vision is, the more context you have as a business leader to step back into, to speak about projects from. You can think about a company who has no vision or no direction, and they're just doing work. Well, everything will just seem like more work to whoever's doing the work, and then employees, it's like it just shows up and it's something to check off the list. And that may be appropriate for some businesses. For most, however, being a strong visionary as a leader and being able to communicate that is important. And then asking yourself, how do I take my vision and how does it apply to this specific project, this mundane project perhaps? We're implementing a new software, but if we don't put the software in place, it's really going to impact our customer service this year, or it's going to impact our margin because we need to automate this process, and it's a pain in the butt. But how do I connect this pain in the butt project with our vision? Why does it matter? This answers the why. What's the why behind the project, boss? So it's not only that in execution you need a vision, but it's that it's shared. So that's the hard work of being a leader. We need to say, how do I share this vision? How do I connect the why? Why is this important to the customer? How will this make our life easier if it does? We can't BS, but why? What's the logic behind this? Too often we overlook communication with the teams who are implementing something, and they're really not clear why they're doing what they're doing, and they don't see how it contributes to the big picture. So we got to make sure that's in place. If you don't have a shared vision on the project team connected to the bigger vision, that likely puts you in the 80% that fails. Make sense? All right, so that's one pillar. The second pillar is strategy. Okay, so we all know we need a strategy. Well, most projects have some strategy. Why are we doing a project? Well, it's inside a strategic thought process or outcome where we need to put this in place to make something else happen. So projects often are designed to solve problems or to elevate something or to expand something. So the strategy simply must be sound. And again, I'll share with you from my experience, much of why projects fail is because the strategy is flawed. Now, why is the strategy flawed? Not because people necessarily want to waste time, definitely from the executive level. We don't want to waste time. We just want something done. But perhaps from the executive level, our thinking wasn't sufficient to launch the strategy, but we launched it anyway. So as an example, the senior team may think that it's a very sound strategy, but they haven't gone and asked the people in the organization who need to implement it. Or maybe commonly, we don't ask the sales reps in a sales organization, hey, we're implementing this new product line and marketing system, and it's going to be great. We're going to sell a lot, but we should get your input as the person on the ground talking to our customers every day. Have we missed something in our strategy for this rollout? Can you see yourself championing this? What would need to be in place for you to own this as your own? Do you see? And so it's not a sound strategy because we thought from our best view at this level that this looked great. But the sales rep says, boss, you missed a lot, and I cannot walk into the office of whoever with this brochure, with this messaging, with this thing, because it doesn't work. It's not what they want to hear, and or it's not what I want to sell that I know works. So we need to talk to people who are actually going to touch the workflow and where the outcome is designed to impact real people. And then we need to slow things down. Too often we rush. We have so many strategies and so many priorities, and we rush into 10 things and we do them all half-ass, or we do them 50%, expecting that all of it's going to fit on the calendar. It doesn't work. So sound strategic thinking is very important. I've worked with other clients where they spent years on tech issues, and it was a simple data entry kind of problem, which was overlooked from the beginning. And in my opinion, it's because we just don't slow down to ask those questions until we can, there's an old saying, the great golfers who are great, golfers obviously, but one of the best putters in the world was asked, what makes you such a world-class putter on the green? And he said, well, most people stand over the ball, look at the hole, and they think to themselves, I hope I get it in. I stand over the ball, look at the hole, and I know it's already in the hole. He already sees it sunk. I like that visual because that's who we need to be in surgical strategy. We need to at least get to the point where we absolutely can see ourselves winning with the strategy we have, and we've done the thinking tactically backwards through it to make sure that this works. And, it takes intellectual effort. And sometimes we just want it miraculously to happen, or someone on the team with some expertise to make it happen. But, we leave it to chance and we end up in the 80%. All right. Action. Third pillar. I know none of these are earth-shattering in themselves, but we want to look at, what about action? We don't want action, just people doing a bunch of work, as I just said, running all over, disconnected. So what's the key here? It's integrated action. It's coordinated action. That's where we need to come together across silos in the organization. We ask questions like, who is the perfect team, design team, to get together to look at this project being successful? Yes, it's a tech implementation, or it's a tech, we're building something out with technology, let's say, but we need the sales guy in here, and we need the product guy in here, and we need, I don't know, who else in there? Who else is going to touch this project or has a view of this working for the whole organization? Put those 4 people in a room and stress test it and say, what's the coordinated action? You can see how this all fits together. You got vision in the background. You're stress testing the strategy. You're planning before you go to war here to win, because it is a war. And, without a sound strategy, you're going to get killed. Sorry to be graphic, but that's just how it works. And these are the 3 that are most often missing. All right, so we'll say a little bit more about each of these in a moment. In the middle, what's the glue? Of course, accountability. Accountability holds it all together. So, we all want accountability, but it's one of those things, again, where it starts as the person in the mirror. Are you 100% accountable for the success of the implementation of whatever it is that's most important to the organization? Or are you abdicating your responsibility to somebody else, whether it's a VP or a director or a manager or a staff member? I've learned I need to be 100% accountable. It does not mean I babysit. It does not mean I handhold. I demand communication back to me. I demand clarity in their performance. I demand honesty and openness. And I want to hear about what's working, what's not working, what's missing, because I care most about the successful implementation of whatever it is we're doing, period. Isn't that what we care about around here? So we can have great, fun conversations that are high performance together, because I'm accountable for that result. And I'm going to hold you to account for it, and I expect you to hold me to account for it, because we want things to work. We don't want to waste time, money, or resources, and failure is not an option. So accountability, it starts there, right? And not only that, though, single point. So I talk a lot with teams about people, yeah, we're all accountable. Well, yes, that's important if that's authentic. We are all accountable for the success. And when done well, that's very powerful. But mostly people just say we're all accountable. And then what happens is you have the next meeting or project update meeting, and everyone looks at each other like, I thought you were going to do that. Whatever that was. I thought that was your job, or I thought you were working on that, Damon, David, whoever. That doesn't work. So anything that is important to action, that somebody needs to actually put time in their calendar for. This is how I invite you to think about it. There's a body of work that somebody needs to leave your meeting with, sit down and look at their own calendar and go, when am I going to do that? That they need to, you need to have a name beside that workflow or that item. Okay, whether it's an individual action or an overall outcome. I want to know who I go to, who's ultimately in charge of the tech working, who's in charge of product, who's in charge of sales, and then, there's subsets of that. The point here is be suspicious if you have a workflow item that in brackets beside it says everyone. No. I know it may be everyone, but who's quarterbacking this thing if it goes off the rails? Who's actually going to follow up between this week and next week and make something happen here? That's a name I need on this list. All right, team. So that is the execution triangle. And I'm going to review each element of this briefly in a moment, but I invite you just to think, anywhere execution's breaking down, anywhere you're not happy with implementation, I promise you one or more of these things are missing, or were missing if you think back now and do a post-mortem. And my intention is, I hope this helps for you to get out in front of being masterful in execution. So a couple practices just to end up with that you can take away today. Don't assume anything. Ask the question. Inspect what you expect, the famous saying, that therefore no surprises. Ask yourself what is missing and go after it. And get out of your comfort zone for the sake of the mission success. All of these really back into communication. When I am more committed to the success of the mission, which is whatever project it is we're giving our word to, when I'm more committed to that than the reasons in my head not to speak up, or the excuses I give myself that it's somebody else's job, the more committed I am to the team succeeding, the mission for the customer, the more I'll pull myself through, like that comfort zone, or the uncomfort of picking up the phone and just calling somebody. Hey, Dave, I wanted to check this out. I know it's not on my direct line of accountability, but I noticed that the project team is 2 days late on this thing. How's that going to impact you? Is there anything I can do to help facilitate it? You speak up because you're not worried about just your workflow. You're worried about, you could say the men getting to the moon and back safely. All right, team. Thank you very much, as always, for, I missed one there. There it is. Practice the language of high performance, which is the whole deal. And the famous saying, which is, what's the next action? I guess that's the final thing I would say, is that if you're in conversations with people where you're just going around the table, lamenting about perhaps what the problem is, you can listen to that for a while if you're diagnosing something, but you better get to the point where you say, okay, team, what's the next action to move us through to the result that we're committed to here? Often that question is not asked, and you just get up with people, giving their opinions about what should be done, but no one's doing anything new. All right, not simple. I appreciate we're taking complex issues here. But again, my intention is to hopefully give you 4 areas inside that execution triangle to see what may be missing. Thank you for your time. Again, if you're new to the mastermind, I invite you to, and if you like this kind of work, you can scan that QR code, and I do a series of high performance tips straight to your inbox. And that's one way that we can stay in touch. All right, with that said, I want to thank you all for being on today, and we'll see you in a future mastermind.